It's
people
like
from,
Portland in a way, you know?
yeah, well, that's right, Portland, but so
Different
so
stuff,
but Grand Rapids in each
but not like
decade,
Philly.
no. Well, Philly is a much older city, always larger, broader,
Right.
but Grand Rapids was, again, it was split. You had the North and the South, deeply impacted by the Dutch immigrants.
Hmm.
And but each decade the city has evolved. And so Grand Rapids in the 2020s is a lot different from Grand Rapids in the 1980s or 90s when I was there in the 80s and 90s. And so, and when,
Oh,
craft beer, all kinds of these other things have,
hmm.
it's much more become an American city. And I think part of that has to do with kind of the fall of Detroit, because Detroit was your quintessential Michigan city and Grand Rapids was a furniture city, CRC center of the world. But as the CRC loses its immigrant ethos, its
Mm,
cultural isolation, um, and again, being
that makes
CRC and
sense of how you're feeling these echoes with Orthodoxy.
oh, say more about that.
Well, y- you know, even when I was a little younger, when you went to a city, there'd be a Greek Orthodox, a Russian Orthodox, you see what I mean? Syrian
Yeah,
Orthodox, Coptic maybe.
yeah.
But that's the same thing they're struggling with is that the family lines aren't the thing that are the root. It's not that you're
Yeah.
Dutch now. It's
Right.
you got a whole bunch of other people coming on. And
Right.
how do we know what we are if
Yes.
we're a Russian church, but we have a whole bunch of
Well, that's what I keep feeling about the Orthodox because I'm watching this happening and I'm thinking it's a totally different thing from being an immigrant denomination.
yes, yes.
And those outsiders rushing in, they might be coming in because I saw that in the CRC. I remember Dante Venegas. So
Mm.
Dante Venegas, you can find a biography written for definitely for sale at Schuler's. Dante Venegas, he was the co-pastor of Madison Square when I got there.
How do
My
you spell that
father,
last name?
yeah, what's
How do
that?
you how's it spell?
VEN. Oh, let me uh Amazon works. Dante. It was written, there it is, Dante's Dance by
Mm,
Jackie Venegas and Chris Meehan. Chris was the he worked for the denomination. And after Dante died, Jackie is Dante's widow. I think she just passed. I don't remember.
mm,
But so Dante, Puerto Rican, growing up in New York City,
mm.
there was a Manhattan CRC in Manhattan. And my father, of course, was connected with all of these things. And Dante, um, he's becoming a Christian, and he had done time in jail. He was known as Spanish
Mm,
Danny. He had
mm,
gotten, free of his drugs, and just wanders into this Manhattan CRC, and he opens up the Psalter hymnal because that's what's there. It's a CRC, and you go to the back, and he finds the Heidelberg Catechism.
mm,
And for him, finding that Heidelberg Catechism was just like, wow, this is order. And he had been
mm,
used to Pentecostalism and just, but here was order. And so then he
mm,
becomes a CRC pastor, CRC minister. Well, first he worked in drug rehabilitation, which was really big in Patterson. And I guess he had a conflict with my father. And
huh,
my father had said something or done something that really hurt him at one point. Because
mm,
Dante told me about this. Because when I start going to Grand Rapids, this is this this is the small ethnic denomination. I start going to this church in Grand Rapids. I've got family or
mhm,
relations, and so I go to this church, and Dante's like, Vanderclay, oh, I know your father. And of course, my
mm,
sister, I know your father, and your father said something to me once that really hurt him. I don't know if Dante ever
mm,
forgave him. And
mm,
I don't know if my father ever appreciated, because if my father knew that that had really hurt him, my father was a very kind man, and
Mm,
he definitely would have tried to, um, make up for it. But so Dante, comes into the denomination. He's a minister, but he's a Pentecostal pastor in the Christian Reformed Church who found some things he loves in the Heidelberg Catechism,
mm,
and so then he has this amazing joint pastor relationship. You can find that in my conversation with Dave Beelan that I have online. It's this amazing relationship with Dave Beelan. They're just both learning from each other. But
mm,
Dante's older, and so he's kind of a mentor to Dave on all sorts of things. But the thing is, I mean, Dante, I don't know how many CRC ministers there are biographies written of that actually got published, but here's one from Dante.
huh,
And, you know, these people coming into Orthodoxy are going to change it. They're
yeah.
going to make it American. And
Mm,
where that goes and what it does. And part of the thing is with the Orthodox, like you said, there's the Greek Orthodox, there's the Russian Orthodox, there's the Antiochian. I mean, the Ukrainians are going to come in, and
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 you
you,
know where you go by your roots. Like
yes,
that's how you choose the church in town.
yes. And now all these Americans are going to be coming in from
Yeah, none of them look like those things. I mean, the
no,
Greek church starts to look more like the Coptic and Russian. Well, the Coptics, um, but like the one
but
I go to
well, what
is
one do you go to?
it's Syrian, so
Okay,
mostly Lebanese, right?
yeah.
But it's the cathedral. So we have the
Oh,
bishopric here, but and we've had to take on as the Greek closes and the Russian closes and the too small, they come in there. That would be my span of time when I've been in Wichita. And you know, you, the real Coptic Orthodox, you know where they are.
yeah, yeah.
The Greek, not so much to me anymore, right? Or there's another Antiochian. I mean, we're just heavily Lebanese here, so there were two always here. But those families, I mean, I probably came back to Wichita in the time of the first big, like, whatever that guy's name was from California. I can't remember his name, but he brought like a huge secret kind of church group into the Orthodox.
Oh
Philip, so
yeah,
you met Peter
yeah.
Gilchrist, Peter Gilchrist.
Yes, yes.
So
Yep.
I would have been about that time, like I think I moved back here a little before 2000 and 98. And and you were getting that flood of evangelicals at that time in and so it was changing like the way Bible study classes, I mean everything.
Yeah, yeah. Which especially so part of what happens with immigrant churches is, and you see this with the CRC. Part of the reason they split up from the RCA is that this new wave of Dutch immigrants come in and they look at the RCA, the Reformed Church in America, and they say, "This isn't us."
Exactly.
They don't speak Dutch. They let in Masons. They're way too American. We're going to establish the pure Dutch church. Now, of course, the Dutch have all these fragments that are coming over, but because they're immigrants, they're all coming together where they can all speak Dutch together. And we're going to make a really strong container to make sure
Yes.
that America doesn't change us. And that
Yes.
and that project goes about 50, 60 years, basically two generations. And America's going to change you.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And so then
Turns
because
out your ecology has changed.
and that's again, oh, you're so right about that. I hadn't really connected that with, sort of just kind of the programming because I've got all this programming in my head that has been just watching my own tradition assimilate and change and do all of this. And then I watch the Orthodox come in. And of course, that's the interpretive framework, the filter that I have, getting all this
Yeah, yeah.
Orthodox input. And it's like, oh. And then I see because part of what happens, you now and people don't. So now Orthodoxy has this crisis. On one hand, it's got all of this excitement because we're growing. We're
Holy crap.
growing. It's working. And so then we need way, way more priests. Well, where are we going to get these new priests from? Because this is exactly what happened in the CRC. Because the
There
first
you
impulse
go.
is
Yep.
we got to bring more Dutchmen in from the Netherlands. But
It's like
those,
we're 50 years ahead of Vatican II.
that's right. We're going to bring in all these Dutchmen
Yep.
from the Netherlands, but very quickly, the second and third generation kids, they don't speak Dutch natively. They can
Yep.
understand it because they heard their
Yep.
parents speaking it, but they don't live in it because they live in English. And so very quickly, then you start bringing in non-Dutch clergy, and and you start, and like Dante. Well, Dante's going to come in, and Dante's going to Dante's going to impact this person with a Dutch last name, and
Yep.
Dante's going to impact a whole group of, Reggie Smith. He was at Madison
Mm-hmm.
same time I was, African
Mm.
American pastor. He's going to influence a whole generation. And at least with the Dutch, we had the immigrant container that we're not going to change, especially when we looked at the Netherlands. It's like, oh, it's terrible what's happened in the Netherlands. We have to keep what's happening in the Netherlands. We make sure that doesn't happen here. But when I listen to the Orthodox, like, we worship the way the early church did. I just like, I've heard all that before. I got books behind me that say, I open it up and there's Jesus, and then there's the apostles, and then there's the offskiting in 19th century Netherlands, and oh no, first Calvin and Luther, and then the
Yeah.
offskiting. It's like CRC, we are doing things the biblical way. You're not the Orthodox. You got all
Amen.
those icons. I don't read about those icons in the Bible. Give me a break. Those are accretions. The Christian Reformed Church, it's like right out of the Bible. And so then the Orthodox are like, it's
That's
right out
mom's
of the
church for
Bible. Well, we're
sure.
not
Yeah.
sola scriptura, but we've maintained the tradition. Oh, have you? Okay. We'll see how that goes in America. I'm not. I don't mean. I mean you no
No,
harm.
it's totally, you're right. No, it's
I
the
mean,
same
that's what
thing
I
of
say to people because I say that to people and people get offended. It's like, I mean you no harm. I really
no.
don't. I want you to flourish. I celebrate your moment. I celebrate your success in evangelism. God bless you. Keep going. But
And like
don't
I
be
love
naive.
Martin and Paul, right? I love those guys a
Yeah.
lot. But I really like this idea of uh worldviews held in language. Like you mentioned, they all start speaking English. I see this with the Amish and Mennonites around me here.
Yeah.
Like once those kids go to a school at Heston,
Yeah.
it's gonna be different at home.
Yeah.
It's gonna be different.
Yeah. And the
Uh,
CRC said, the school, that's where it gets in. So the
we'll
CRC
make our own
built
school.
their own schools.
Yes.
And then, the college, that's where it gets in. The CRC built
Yep,
their own college. But at some
exactly.
point, they're like, well, who's going to teach at college? Well,
How often my
maybe.
mom said I shouldn't have let you go to Bible college, even though it fit all her boxes.
That's right. That's
But then
right.
those Westminsters are just sneaked in there.
That's right. And they were the shoehorn into a much bigger world. And suddenly it's like you're talking to people that, well, they have a degree from Oxford.
My sister became a missionary, so that was right, right? Like she did the multnomah poop shoot correctly.
Well, those are well, in Protestant world, missionaries are the monks. They are the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
saints. They are the elite.
Yeah, you got the right message.
Yep, 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 yep. Multiple approach.
Oh my.
Oh my. So how did you wind up in Wichita?
Well, this Michigan born half Mexican lady brought her dog into the Schuler bookstore, and I was shelving books on a ladder, and she walked across, and they were like, "You can't have your dog in here," and she was like, "Fuck you," and then walked over to the ladder and said, "I'll leave, but I got to tell that guy I'm gonna marry him." And things that had happened back east, I had gotten engaged to like probably, your first big huge love.
Yeah.
Um, and then she had married somebody else. So I was bereft, and so I was like, oh well, okay, I guess there's my wife with a dog that sails from Jamaica to New York City for rich people. This crazy sailor woman. And so she came out the next weekend, I think, to she was just in town for like her parents lived in Grand Rapids. And she was just in town, like had a month off the boats or something. And um she came out to Saugatuck on the weekend I was working and got pregnant. And so then I was like, I remember she had to go back to sea and then came back like maybe a month or two later and expected I would want her to have an abortion. And so it just come to talk to me about I'm pregnant. And one time, man, I'm telling you, one time. And I was like, well, I guess I'm a dad now, like so then she started living in the little place I was living and worked at a coffee shop. I worked at the bookstore, finished studies, and then we were gonna go to Ashland,
Yeah.
Oregon. I had spent a lot of time in Oregon since my sister had gone through school ahead of me out there, and um,
Your poor mother.
that is so true. We just had a long talk about it yesterday. So we waited until the kid was born. Then we went to see Beekner one more time, and she had family in Boston. So, like when Tristan, my oldest, was 2 months old, we camped to Niagara and across. Anyway, that's kind of how we were. And then got back. I had to take one last Hebrew class. I could do that at Friends here. Um, and so what our plan was to come here, stay for like a couple months so my parents could see their grandchild if they wanted, and then head to the West Coast. And she was a potter and a sailor, so we needed to be near water. But driving from, oh yeah, yeah. So we drove, I had 3-day weekend from Schuler. And so we drove all the way to kind of my spiritual mother was my mom's best friend growing up. And she was the person who would let me talk about anything and not say, I shouldn't ask those questions. She's still, I stop to see her on every vacation I take. Um, anyway, we wanted her to bless us and the child. And so we all climbed Mount Evans together and did that with the dog. And then came back and we were just going to show mom and dad their kid. And then we decided to stay for a couple months. And I got a job at Eighth Day and she got a job at Watermark, which is the main independent bookstore here. And aside from Eighth Day. And first day we were here, like Warren, the guy that runs Eighth Day hired me and she got a job. So then we were kind of like, and then the weirdest thing, Paul. So I loved her father. I do love her father very much. And he was one of my favorite, uh, taught me to sail. And he had these people that would come over, Baptist pastors. He was so fascinated by people, maybe kind of like you. And uh like Teresa, my the mother of my first two kids, had always said she wasn't raised atheist. She was just like
Yeah.
dad listened to everybody and didn't
Yeah.
seem to nothing convincing. And he'd ask such good questions, and we would just spend Sunday after Sunday there just talking. And so she was like that, but then like a year into the kid here, there was a morning she woke up and said, I want to go to church. Okay. So, that's fine by me. In some ways, it probably ignited my heart. I don't know. But so I just took her I took her to LDS, I took her to Pentecostal, I took her to Baptist, I took her to Buddhist, I took her to Muslim, I took her.
You're like, I know churches. I know the full
Tell me
panoply
what it
of
is you mean
churches.
by that.
That's right. You have no idea. It's like when my wife says to me, I might need a new computer. Oh, or a new phone. It's like, oh,
Yes,
no, I
exactly.
just need a phone. No,
No.
we want to. I'm gonna grab a water. I'm still listening. Keep talking.
Okay. So yeah, for about a year, every weekend we went to a different community. Um, and then would just talk about it the next week. And if she wanted to go back, we'd go back. If we uh and I think a lot of hers was does this make sense to me?
Mm,
You know? Uh very much like I would guess her dad is like it's not so much about I can be friends with everybody and love them and have community with them. It's not about that. It's like, does this story make sense to me
yep,
that this group is telling about the
yep,
world?
yep.
And probably, like she was a vegetarian and then once she got pregnant, she started eating meat. So it probably had something, it always felt like it had something to do with having a kid too.
Yeah,
Especially as a sailor maybe versus a farmer where you kind of have a groundedness and
yeah,
uh yeah, beautiful person. So anyway, then finally, like, oh hell, I don't know. Seems like it was a February, so not like a special, well, there are always special times of year. We went to St. George, the Orthodox cathedral, and when we walked out of there, she said, I want to talk to the priest. Like I
okay.
thought it would be the most nonsensical.
Yeah,
For me, it was the most I
yeah,
feel at home here because I can just be here
yeah,
and I've got all my aesthetic joys and
yeah,
gorgeous choir and fine preaching, whatever, usually they just read Chrysostom, so that's fine. And, like all of it was, I got no problems with this. I could sit here and boy, we just started meeting with that priest every week, and she would make lists through the week in a notebook of questions. She'd read the whatever confessions and all that stuff, but like a weird zeal. And I can remember Father Paul, who's now just, oh, there you go, very dear, one of my best friends. I just remember how often he would say, well, I can answer those questions, but I don't know that that's the point. Over and over. Like he'd just
yeah,
say, we can
yeah,
talk about these things, but
yeah.
I'm not sure that's what this is about.
That's such a true pastoral state. I'm gonna rip that one off because I so often think it, but I don't know if I dare to say it. I don't know if I have exactly that phraseology, but it's so people ask this question and it's like, that's not really the question. That's
That's
not
not
really
really
what
the
you need to
question.
talk
Yep.
about. I understand you need to talk, but
Right.
you can't even really formulate the question you need to ask,
Yep.
and I can't give it to you. So let's
Yep.
just keep talking, but I
Yep.
don't really want to go down this rabbit trail of Calvinism or
Right. Whatever.
yeah,
Orthodox, like
yeah, yeah,
what has been said, like
yes,
that's not what you're asking for.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
asking for
yeah,
new life,
yeah,
basically,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
uh I have always appreciated that about that genuine, at least in my experience, that genuine feeling that most Orthodox I've met, their real response is come and see. Like,
yeah, yeah,
come and see. You do
yeah.
that too with your community. Like, may or may not be for you. I'm not going to try to convince you because those aren't the questions.
No.
Um,
If you walk in and say I'm home, then
yep.
maybe you are. Talk
Yes,
to
there
me in a
you go.
year.
Yes,
If it can be
exactly.
your home for a year, maybe it is. But
Maybe it is. Yep.
I've seen a lot of people walk through this door and what is going on here? And we don't have any pictures of people on the wall. It's just looking around at the people in the room like, what is going on
Yep.
here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's how that happened. So then we ran into a problem because she did want to become Orthodox, and our vow to each other on the mountain was that we'd never marry. I had a
Oh.
strong thing about that, that we'd always, every day would be this loving choice, whatever. Um,
Oh, wow.
and probably from my own upbringing, right? Of
Yeah, yeah,
those
sure.
things aren't the things that hold it together.
Right.
Like
It's very Protestant.
it is.
Marriage, convention, tradition. Nah, we can do this off of our hearts every day, made new. I'll feel this way forever. Very
or not,
Bibleist.
or not,
Or
but
not.
I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it needs to be the heart promise, not the
right.
goes back to the practice thing. Like I'll build the thing anyway.
Yeah,
Um, and so this was a struggle because Father Paul said she couldn't become Orthodox
right. Yeah,
truly
yeah,
if we were living the way we were with our child.
absolutely. And
And
many churches would tell
woof,
you exactly that. Yeah.
yep. And that was a woof. So, so I did. But Father Paul has always said I'm like Dostoevsky. He's always described like my movement with the church as just concentric explorations,
Mm.
and it can be home, but I'm probably not going to be there much. And I didn't really agree to, that kind of, yeah, he's just, yeah. And that's how it's worked out. So that was
Huh.
98. So it's been
Wow. Yeah.
almost 30
Yeah.
years. I don't know,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just been these elliptical, sometimes
Wow.
close in, sometimes far out. Her,
Wow.
I had two children with her,
Mm.
and we did, they were baptized and took part until like 12 or 15. And then it was kind of like,
Yeah.